everyone, and welcome to today's episode of M&A Empowerment. Today, you're lucky enough to meet my colleague Jeanette Jordan, who is also my friend and a partner here at Witham in the Transaction Advisory Group. Jeanette, if you could take a second to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Witham from your perspective.
Sure, I'd love to. And thanks for having me here, Kelsey. It's a pleasure to be with you. As you said, I'm Jeanette Jordan. I'm a partner in Witham's Transaction Advisory Group. I've been at Witham for 18 years plus, and I have been in public accounting for over 25 years, hard to believe. And just a little bit about Witham. We're a national advisory and accounting firm. Just celebrated our 50th anniversary. We have offices up and down the East and West Coast, lots of service lines, many niche specializations, far too many for us to cover in the time allotted today, but a very robust firm with a lot of offerings.
Absolutely. And if you could tell our viewers a little bit about yours, and I guess also my role in the M&A process.
Right. So myself, much like you, I focus on the financial side of due diligence. So really representing and working with buyers and sellers, taking a look at historical financial results, helping them understand what normalized earnings looks like. And that's just, for getting a perspective of what the business might look like going forward, based on those normalized operations. We also spent some time looking at normalized net working capital, which can become very important when you're negotiating your purchase price language and your your net working capital target, which will ultimately affect the cash that you get at closing. So spend a good deal of my time these days just working with clients on that net working capital target, the definitions, the calculations, and then those final true ups. Rarely, but occasionally also helping them out when there's a dispute later on.
Sure. Yeah, and we oftentimes work alongside, some of the other advisors, on their legal teams and whatnot to, be able to make sure that we're presenting everything appropriately within that final document.
Right. And a very similar process when we're working with sellers or with buyers as far as, what we're looking for and how we're approaching the work. Of course, I enjoy working with the sellers because you're able to help them get out in front of things, really, put their best foot forward and prepare them for a process that's probably one of the biggest transactions they're ever going to do in their lives in many cases with these founder-owned or family-owned businesses. And then on the buyer side, just helping them identify things that could potentially result in risks to them later, either operationally or even impact the valuation that they originally had put on the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you could tell us about a recent professional success that you've had.
Sure. Um, so we had a deal, a merger, and one side of the merger, they had 6 different entities. One of them was brand new. One of them was winding down, and 2 of them had just been acquired within the past 18 months. So it was a very interesting process to sew together the story of what this business looked like going forward using historical information. We worked with 3 different accounting teams, 3 different accounting systems, and spent some time really removing from historical information those discontinuing operations so that they weren't distorting revenue or profitability or margin, and then also working to help normalize those historicals on the acquired businesses so that they didn't just suddenly appear and completely change the numbers. We had to get those historicals weaved in from before the acquisition, and then also take into consideration some of the cost savings that came in as they were able to right size the administrative load of those businesses. So getting all of that together and getting it over to a bank and them, getting through the lending process was pretty exciting, especially in today's environment with lenders being much more cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems like a lot of moving pieces to that one, to say the least.
Yes. Right. And again, this is a company that put together a lot of smaller parts and didn't necessarily have the in-house sophistication needed to tell that story in a way that was going to support that lender approval process. So it was just coming alongside of them and helping put that extra layer of professionalism on top of the reporting that really helped, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, lastly, what would you say to other women who are currently in the field or looking to get into our field? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say it's a great time for women to be getting into our business. I've been excited being out at conferences and different events to see much more representation of women out there. There's a lot of top 50, top 100 women in M&A lists coming out, and it's just getting a lot more attention, which is great. If you're looking to come into the field and really advance and make a name for yourself, I would say the best thing you can do for yourself as a woman, or really as anyone, is to really know your stuff. Because if you know what you're talking about and can speak about it with authority, they can't ignore you, and they're going to value what you bring to the table. If you have something to offer, it just seems like anybody out here in this M&A environment, they're willing to listen. They want to, whoever can help them is who they're going to listen to. So I don't know. It's a little hard sometimes. You hear about the boys network, but I think by and large, if you're able to show capability and ability to communicate and just stay in the conversation, you're going to be able to excel pretty quickly.
That's great advice. Thank you. And thanks again for joining us, everyone. This is Jeanette, again, my friend and colleague here at Witham. Thank you again for joining us, and tune in for the next episode.